On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're previewing and predicting Arkansas and number 3 Texas. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. And check us out at HornSports.com for all the latest in Texas news. Now, Dylan, the game, of course, Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Probably the best time to have a game if you're Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns, because a night game in Fayetteville is not ideal. The game will be, as discussed, at Arkansas's Donald W Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Yeah. Televised on ABC, Texas favored by 13.5 points. Dylan, scouting report of this Arkansas Razorbacks team. How are you feeling about their offense? Optimistic about how they'll perform against Texas, and maybe how's the quarterback matchup looking?
Yeah, so obviously Taylor Green, he suffered an injury against Ole Miss, Devon. He's expected to play. He could be limited though. It's a knee injury, so could limit some of his mobility, which is a big part of his game as a runner. But they're led by offensive coordinator Devon Bobby Petrino. He's back leading the help, and they're actually playing really well. I mean, they're a team that's going to want to mix in a lot of play action, and they're also at their best when they're a balanced attack and able to make the defense focus on both the run and the pass and in conjunction with each other, right? And statistically, they've been the 34th scoring offense in the country with 33 per game. They've been the number 11 passing offense, number 32 rush defense, and number 5 in total offense. So this Arkansas team can move the football. They are not a normal 5-4 team. They've when they're going, Devin, they can move the ball down the field on pretty much about anybody in the SEC. But bringing it back to Taylor Green, again, great passer. He's got 2,214 pass yards. He's also been able to make a lot happen with his legs, 411 rush yards. Then on the ground, Devin, your guy, Jaquindon Jackson, former
My
Duncanville
boy,
quarterback.
not
Yeah,
only
yeah, yeah.
former Duncanville quarterback, finish that sentence if you remember the rest. What else is
Well,
he?
transferred from
There
Texas
you
to
go.
Utah and then to Arkansas. So he's been all over covering the time zones, but he's in the backfield. He's been out the past few games. He's expected to play, and obviously what would be considered as a homecoming game for him. So I'm sure there's personal reasons he wants to be out there, but he's a big runner, 6'2", 230 pounds, tough to bring down. And then at wide receiver, another threat, wide receiver Andrew Armstrong. He's got 857 yards on the season. He's got a large frame, 6'4", great one-on-one threat. So he's going to be really testing the secondary. Expect him to be mixed in with a lot of deep balls. And then Arkansas, got to talk about the offensive line because they make sure those guys are fed. They've played better since the start of the season. They've looked like a new unit, basically starting from scratch to start the season. But Ole Miss, Devin, before the bye, they got 63 points hung on them, and they also allowed 9 sacks to that defensive line. So that's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, doing that Ole Miss team though, it's just been doing damage against everybody
Yeah.
seemingly so far. And Dylan, I mean, you talked about Arkansas being 5-4. I mean, they have 4 losses, of course, but they have some tough losses just in terms of who they played. I mean, Ole Miss they lost to, of course, as you discussed, LSU, Texas A&M. So it's not like they've been playing nobodies. They do have a win against Tennessee, who I believe is ranked 6th in the nation right now, Dylan. So they have a good win. However, they've faced, as we're talking about, many good opponents and have suffered a few more losses in those big games than wins. Now, the Razorbacks defensively, Dylan, seems like you always get the fun side of the ball. This group ranks 79th in the nation in just points allowed per game with 26.3, which is about middle of the road, which, of course, if you're trying to win college football games in the SEC, Dylan, you don't want to be in the middle of the road. You want to be leading the charge off of the highway there. And then the hard part, Dylan, I was being kind there, 124th in pass defense, which is very close to the bottom of the ranks in college football, allowing 266.2 yards per game. However, the run defense for the Razorbacks has been solid at 36 in the country, and that's just measured at about 121.2 yards per game. Now, again, this Arkansas team, as Dylan discussed, is offensive heavy, and so that's the side of the ball to really be paying attention to. But some key players for the Razorbacks. First of all, you got redshirt junior linebacker Xavier Sori Jr. Dylan, 77 tackles on the year. My next point here, it's a little throwback. We had a little throwback earlier. We had a little Jaquindon Jackson era. And Dylan, I'm going back to an original boy of mine that's let me down many times in my picks videos. He's an excellent player in of itself. That is Landon Jackson, now a senior for Arkansas on the defensive line.
Full circle moment.
Full circle, leading the team with 4.5 sacks. He's from Texarkana, Pleasant Grove. And if you guys have watched long enough, I'm a Pleasant Grove boy in terms of just my rooting interest because they're just fun to watch, Dylan. But oftentimes in the picks years ago, they let me down. We'll see how this one ends up being. Jackson's paired with redshirt senior Eric Gregory, another 3 sacks. And then in the secondary, sophomore defensive back TJ Metcalf, 3 interceptions already so far this season. Those are the highlight players. Now, Dylan, any shots you want to get in while you can? I see you preparing.
No, so I was about to say, like, so what is the final? It's a full circle moment, right? In what way would he be letting you down? Is that losing this game, or would beating Texas complete the ultimate story arc for him, beginning to end?
That would be quite the story arc, but Dylan, I think allowing the final score prediction that we have at the end of the video, that would be the best way to make it up to me. If he's able to manipulate the score in a way that benefits that prediction, I'm all for it. But Dylan, I mean, he's got a talented family overall. I mean, his brother also big recruit. And I believe Dylan committed to UT. I'm going to have to double check as we continue on in this video, but believe he's committed to UT. So a little bit of a family trader action and a rivalry, if you will. But I'm sure the Jackson household at Thanksgiving is one that I would definitely be wanting to be involved in. But yet again, Landon, heck of a player. It's going to be someone that Texas is going to have to key in on offensively in terms of that O-line. I know they've had trouble against some of the better pass rushers in the SEC, namely looking at Georgia, just to really freeze frame it there. But he's going to be the one to watch for Arkansas. Now we're moving on to the X factors, Dylan. Who are you looking at here in terms of making a difference in this game?
Yeah, it's got to be the offensive line because the main factor in this game is going to be Taylon Green and how he plays against this Texas defense, and as well as Jaquindon Jackson, what he's able to get on the ground against the Texas front that you become one-dimensional against. It makes it such a difficult time to move that football. That's what made Georgia so successful that week going into DKR. So wanted to focus on the O-line because, again, they let up 9 sacks against Ole Miss. They can't have another repeat performance like that this week, especially with 2 banged-up star players in Green and Jackson. They're going to need as much time as possible. So I think a big factor in this game, the hypothetical if Arkansas's offensive line can allow Green to have 3 to 5 seconds in the pocket, or at least have some gaps to be able to make something happen with his legs, I think the Razorbacks can hang around in this, because if it becomes a shootout, I do think Arkansas can make enough plays to keep up.
Dylan, just to continue on in the saga that we paused on, I double-checked. I wanted to make sure that Lance was committed to UT, and Lance being Landon's brother. Lance is a UT commit, so I'm correct there. And he's one of the better prospects in the country. So we're going to get into it in a second when I talk about danger level. But it's going to be heated Thanksgiving, I'm sure. X factors for me, Dylan, you know I like being a little corny and choosing a group that makes just way too much sense.
Who would have thought?
It makes way too much sense. So I'm going to dial it down a little bit this time. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to go Jadon Blue and Quintravian Wisner. And why, you might ask? Last weekend against Florida, the duo combined for 9 carries. Now, of course, the Florida game got off to a passing frenzy for Texas. Didn't really need to rely on the run at a certain point because they were already up by so much. But Sarkisian, you're getting towards the twilight, Dylan, of this season. The fall leaves are coming down, and that's when you need the running backs to really step up. And if Texas wants to go far this year, Jadon Blue and Wisner are going to have to be the options for the Longhorns. And I chose them as the X factors because, yet again, the Razorback run stoppers are really the key for the Arkansas defense. So if the running backs for Texas are able to at least make Arkansas wary of the running game, it's going to open up even more passing lanes for Quinn Ewers, who yet again is facing the 124th passing defense already. So anything that you can do to help him out, Dylan, especially after a confidence builder in Florida where he threw for 5 touchdowns, the better. Now, Dylan, X factors. Oh, danger level. Just change the screen there.
Mhm.
Danger level. How are you feeling here?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I think somebody paid somebody in the SEC to get Arkansas to not have the night game here. Maybe they used that up against Tennessee. You only get one. They used that wisely, but Texas being able to come in there at an 11 a.m. game, it probably means nothing, Devin. But as a fan and watching it on TV, I don't know. I like to think like the night game, opposing team, right? Underdog. There's just a difference between it and 11 a.m. kickoffs. They just don't have the same appeal, right? Unless you're Ole Miss playing Kentucky. So hopefully they don't have that go their way in case of Texas. But I got this game at a 7. Devin, I like Arkansas's offense. Again, if Taylor Green is healthy enough to be able to still make some plays with his legs against Texas, I think Arkansas has a real shot to hang around in this game. It I really do feel that way because of how Georgia was able to win against Texas. It was a balanced attack, but also they were able to throw the ball. Georgia is the best offense that Texas has played, but statistically, Arkansas is technically up there with Georgia or better statistically offensively. So again, the secondary, it's going to be a real road test for them. So look for that back there and what Arkansas is able to do getting the ball to Armstrong and what they're able to do in the running game. It's just that the reason it's not higher, this defense is so suspect, and Ewers is looking more like himself after last week. That I have a lot more confidence with this Texas team being able to just get out ahead and hold on to that lead.
Yeah, Dylan, I wanted to go with the 7 as well, but I held off because, as you
Mhm.
mentioned, for me, it really depends on Green's health status for Arkansas in terms of what he's able to do. But I am giving it a 6, which is pretty high yet again for a 5-4 opponent because, Dylan, just something about Fayetteville. It's a little scary, if you're a Texas fan. If you're Steve Sarkisian, you might want to put a little poster on top of the UT logo as you roll into town because you don't want people to see that you're associated with the Horns when you're in Arkansas. And Dylan, as you mentioned, maybe something scheduling wise, Texas might have an insider in the conference in terms of making sure that this was an earlier game. Now, of course, it really comes down to TV providers and their fight for ratings. But, my conspiracy theory mind just wants to blame somebody in the SEC. But all that being said, I think the danger level would be higher if it were a night game. However, yet again, very hostile environment. Arkansas, their offense has been promising, and Texas has gotten lucky, Dylan. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Texas has gotten lucky from the defensive standpoint in terms of they've been playing a lot of backup quarterbacks or just guys that aren't the future, in all honesty, of their program at the quarterback position. This team in Arkansas with Green at quarterback, that's their guy. And you talked about Jaquindon Jackson also coming back. The offense is looking healthy. This is going to be a real test for the Longhorns on Saturday. So I'm giving it a 6. Pretty solid, not all the way, but pretty dang solid. Now, Dylan, prediction. What's your score pick here?
Yeah, I mean this feels like the game that Texas has probably had circled on their calendar and before A&M in terms of where a slip up could happen, getting the guys ready for this game. And I've got Texas winning this 45-21, Devin. Just with Arkansas's play against Ole Miss has me worried because I think Texas has a very good front seven as well. So they're going to be able to test this offensive line that, again, let up 9 sacks and let up 63 points too. And let me tell you, Texas is not allergic to scoring points, unlike how allergic I am to the weather this time of year. So I have faith after last week
Are
against
you losing your
against
mind?
Florida. It's good signs here. So hey, Texas 45-21, and I think they roll out of Fayetteville with their heads heads held high.
Dylan, I won't give away my prediction right away, but Arkansas secondary against the Texas passing offense, that's the battle to watch for me in this game. Yet again, just to rehash what has already been hashed once, or actually rather twice, Dylan.
There's a
124th
lot of hashing
passing,
going
it's a
on.
lot of hashing. It's looking like a hash brown
That's
out
some
here.
hash browns.
Exactly.
No,
Oh, the
great
124th
minds think alike.
ranked passing defense for Arkansas. Quinn Ewers looks like he's finally hitting his groove once again after a little dip in the road, Dylan. It's good for Longhorns to watch. The things just are shaking out Texas' way in terms of this being a day game. Green might be a little banged up, but Dylan, I'm sure it's not going to look like it against Texas because the adrenaline's going to be running very high. I got Texas winning this one 34-20. So a little bit closer than you, Dylan, but yet again, I think with Ewers in his 5 touchdown game against Florida, I think the start to this game will be important because it seems like oftentimes if Texas trips out of the gate, Dylan, it holds them back for about 2.5, 3 quarters. If the Longhorns can just convert on one of those first 2 drives and continue to put their foot to the gas pedal, I think things are going to be good in Fayetteville. But yet again, Dylan, it's a hog pen in Arkansas, and they like to oink, Dylan. So Texas is going to be hearing it. Vanderbilt, just not as big of a home crowd. In all honesty, I think half of that stadium was wearing UT colors. This is not
It
going to
was
be the
also
case.
being renovated at the same time too. So
So it's like a trifecta in sorts. And Dylan, yet again, this Arkansas rivalry is a big rivalry, more so for the Arkansas fans, I think, in past generations. But
wow, taking a shot there
no,
means more to them than you.
that's I think that's the truth. But anyway, it's been they've got some pent up rage, Dylan, from years past, and they got it out on Texas the last time around. Don't be surprised if it's another rocking crowd in Arkansas. Yet again, Texas has everyone circling their schedules for them when they enter town, and this one is even bigger of sorts just because of that just historic background to the game. But yet again, I got Texas winning 34-20. Dylan's got a big win for the Longhorns. But what's your score prediction? Do you got Arkansas in this one? Do you have Texas? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out at hornsports.com. And as always, don't forget to have a great rest of your day.